Federal prosecutors are laying out the details of what they have described as a multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme that defrauded hundreds of investors. Testimony is underway in the trial of Lubbock's Michael Cox and Joshua Allen. They are accused of misleading investors, concealing their high commissions, and lying about the nature of their investments. Both men deny the charges.
Witnesses for the Justice Department testified in the San Antonio courtroom about the ledgers they analyzed from Ferrum Capital, describing multiple transfers between accounts Cox and Allen own dating back to 2019. An IRS investigator told the jury she identified a $3.1 million payout for Cox, Allen, and their business partner, Brooklynn Chandler Willy, while investors took a loss of more than $7.1 million in June of 2019. Testimony will resume tomorrow.
As that federal trial continues, we have new insight into their San Antonio co-defendant's guilty plea. As we first reported in March, Brooklynn Chandler Willy pleaded guilty to 10 federal counts that include wire fraud, money laundering, and aggravated identity theft.
KCBD News Channel 11's investigative reporter Shaylee Kidwell joins us with what Willy told a federal judge and investors inside that courtroom. Shaylee?
Karen and Abner, this court transcript from Brooklynn Chandler Willy's March plea hearing was sealed until now. We obtained the documents as part of our ongoing testing trust investigation. What's inside is a look at a federal judge pressing a defendant to explain herself. In that March hearing, Brooklynn Chandler Willy pleaded guilty to her role in a scheme the U.S. attorney said ultimately defrauded more than 500 victims out of roughly $60 million. Judge Fred Beery didn't mince words. He told Willy, quote, "You are charged with being a thief. Do you understand that?" She answered, "Yes, Your Honor." The judge then asked Willy directly, did she know she was stealing from people? Willy answered, "Yes, Your Honor." Willy holds a law degree from St. Mary's University in San Antonio and told the judge she had taken ethics courses there. She also described herself as a Christian. Judge Beery asked her to explain the gap between that background and a federal felony. Willy said, quote, "I made some bad decisions." The judge pushed further. "Finish the sentence," he said. "Decisions to become a what?" Willy's answer, "I took money. I was a crook. I'm very sorry." When the judge asked whether she ever felt a pang of conscience while stealing her victims' identities, Willy said, "Yes, Your Honor." He asked why she kept going anyway. Her answer in one word, greed. The judge followed up, "So the devil of greed overcame the angel of conscience?" Willy replied, "Yes, Your Honor." The transcript also reveals roughly 50 to 75 victims were in that courtroom the day Willy entered her plea. Judge Beery had her turn and face them, first her family, then the victims, and say whatever she wished. To her family, Willy said, "I failed you. You don't deserve this." To the victims, she said, "Each and every one of you in this room that I had a relationship with, and I knew your family and you trusted me, I hate that I've put you through this." Willy's attorney told the court she and her husband have already paid more than $900,000 in restitution, with plans to pay more. The judge also made clear paying back the money is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. Judge Beery reminded her of another case where a family brought every dollar back to court on sentencing day and still went to prison. Willy is set to be sentenced in December. Willy's 10 counts carry varying sentences. The judge said the worst case is life in prison. Willy's role has already surfaced in her co-defendant's trial. Both sides agreed to keep her guilty plea from the jury to avoid influencing the verdict. Karen and Abner.